pour your Spirit. Place. Don't do what I do what you do. You see, I love street evangelism. Some people think I've got a thing for the streets. Well, I haven't. That's where I meet people. I meet all kinds of people. But within your workplace, with your neighbours, within your school or college, for the do what you do to let people know this wonderful message of Jesus. Okay.
That was really interesting for me. I just wonder, when you meet people on the street and you talk to them and you listen to them and you witness to them, if they show an interest, is there a sort of follow-up? Is there some way in which they can be followed up and supported if they're interested in coming?
Church or at Park or some of the Anglican churches that I have worked with. So there is that follow-up. And for the very first time last week we did night church. Cafe. He said, yeah, just really. He said, I really need to talk to someone. He was surprised that the church could help him. But, yeah, so there is follow-up. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And the next question.
Thank you. We were just talking here just now about easier to talk or more difficult?
It's a great question. If I could just address the first part of your question. I'm often asked, what reaction do I get? And people usually on or of thanking me for sharing my faith with a team and I often make the mistake of saying, Oh, what church are you from? And they say, oh, no, I'm not part of a church. I just think what you've done here is really great. I've learned something. And so I think often it's our approach. And what I don't know, it's just never pushy. And if people are pushy with anything, I mean, it's upsetting, isn't it? It's someone. Do you have chuggers? Chuggers in Chesham? About. So yeah, I suppose I have seen recently a real desire for people to experience the Christian faith, not just through head knowledge and talking through information about the Christian, but to have a go at experiencing it. And how I to that criticism and also to other far more complex criticisms of the Christian faith, I'm hopeless at arguing with atheists. They're so But it's a serious question of suffering or the problem of pain and evil when there's a loving God. When I do meet people who want to talk, and it's usually because they themselves have experienced heartache, the first thing I do is I will listen, and I'll listen to their heartache. Him was, he said to Chaplain, is there anything I could pray for you about? And he just poured out his heart about why he had crutches. He used to be a dancer, a gym. Nothing. Tuesday, and I just thought, I can't keep going, just thinking about suicide. And he thought, oh, I've got coffee on Thursday with Chris, so that kept me going. I thought that was extraordinary that he shared that, but I think the worst thing we can do is try and explain away people's suffering. The God who is. so that he can know of our sufferings. But yeah, I think the worst thing is to explain them away, in a way. Yeah, I think we could unpack that all night about. I sat with a couple from South Africa who asked if I would pray for them. And as I prayed for them, I felt very strongly, I felt God say that they are like a mum and a dad, and that they would have loads of children who haven't been loved to look after. You see, our three, they were murdered. And all I could do then was weep with him. I couldn't say anything else. But all extraordinary. I don't know if that answers your... Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chris. Any more?
It was interesting the way the questions were leading on to our own hurts. And I do think that we're just normal when we're Christians. Within the churches to share this experience and encourage one another. And I just think that there's a vehicle lacking there.
Normal. It's more like 9. But an author, Lawrence Singlehurst, he wrote a book called Sowing, Reaping, Keeping at the same time. And he said the very first step that people need to take in coming to faith, the journey of faith of 7 years, 9 years, is that Christians there could be a God at all. But if we're able to show that actually Christians are okay, that God is good, then we are doing the most remarkable work in aiding someone on that journey to kind of it's not good news. It just remains a theory and a nice idea for a club. But in a way, I totally agree with your point. We certainly need to encourage one another to share what we've got without feeling that we shouldn't. Because this world needs
Oh, yes, it could well be. Any more hands up? We've still got a few. Oh, there's one up. John's got his hand up upstairs. That's great.
Thank you very much indeed. That was wonderfully inspiring and encouraging. A bit of and wonder if you've got any advice. How do you keep going? Because they know I'm a Christian. They've kind of heard. Well, they've heard the gospel. But I need to keep motivated, keep going, reaching out to them, and I think that's almost harder than going out and meeting someone I haven't known at all. And so, can you give any advice on just how we might keep going?
Yeah. And he can... So I said, do you mind driving me? Because I really did need someone to help me. He said, no, not at all. He said, where are you going? So I'm going to Peterborough Cathedral, and I'm speaking in the cathedral. Travel. Is that we've started to invite people who are not Christians to do evangelism with us. And it is extraordinary what happens as people do the things of Jesus, as they serve in different ways. I mean, a friend of mine who works for the Light Project actually runs a course stories from that is extraordinary. And surprise, surprise, as people do that they become Christians. And I think particularly for men, they need to do something. Not Jesus, and at Christmas time he says, I'm not a Christian, but can I tell you the gospel? And it's just extraordinary. So people are, oh really? Okay, yeah, what's the gospel? And he explains what it means to be a Christian. And it's as people do those kind of activities. Channel 4 did a That encourages you? I don't know. Keep inviting people along to things. I mean, I say to some of my non-Christian friends, I say, you know what I do, don't you? And they're like, yeah. You know
Time is going on, but we've got time for a couple more quick questions. There's a hand up there, right by the microphone. And was there a hand over here?
Chris, it was just in your time when you've been evangelising out on the street, whether you've ever had people of other faiths who've
I need to learn. So I will ask people about their faith, and I'll ask what is it that gives them faith, and I'll listen. You've probably got this. People. Now, there are occasions where it's right for conflict, especially, and you've probably had this, especially when people say, oh, we have so much in common. And I want to say, well, actually, can we talk about that which we don't? I want to learn what we don't have in common, but I'd love to talk about conceptions of what it means to be a Christian. For a Muslim living in the UK, perhaps from overseas to live in the UK, their understanding is that everyone town and respect. So for every single person we meet, we need those two things. I've seen awful examples of evangelism, and perhaps you have as well. Evangelism that is unloving and it's hateful.
Close to them, probably, but it's and the children, my grandchildren, I would love to be able to get into conversation more with them. Have you got any tips you could give me?
I have, yeah, I do. So I'm not that I often ask, can I pray for you for anything? And I won't do it when lots of people are around, or sometimes I'll send an email or a text message saying, is there anything that I can pray for you about? It not only is it's something that just goes through. Spirit. Just to for your grandchildren and for your family members, but also to invite them to events that perhaps aren't churchy, but would show something of the good news of Jesus.
Lots of questions, and we've kept you on your feet for an hour and 10 minutes now. Let's show appreciation.
Thank you.